This is the 76 Vintage Dyna Comp from MXR. Country twangers, metal monsters, and jazz hipsters have long relied on the MXR Dyna Comp to make their riffs stand tall in any live or studio mix. In the quest for ultimate tone, the 76 Vintage Dyna Comp is an indispensable ally. The key component here is the metal can CA3080 integrated circuit that's been out of production since the 80s. MXR tracked down a stash of them and has used them all to produce a limited run of Dyna Comp as it was made back in 1976. Let's take a look. The 76 Vintage Dyna Comp features the exact same component layout, silkscreen, and handmade wire harness used in the original design. It also features the limited CA3080 integrated circuit. It operates simply with an output control knob to adjust the overall level of the effect and a sensitivity knob for setting the desired level of compression. Also true to the original, the 76 Vintage Dyna Comp comes with switchcraft jacks, Carling switches, and CTS potentiometers. There's also an identical red paint job, MXR script logo, and a lightweight aluminum housing. It can be powered only by a 9-volt battery. What all this means is that if you want a compressor with a vintage vibe that gives you quieter operation, greater transparency, and increased dynamic range, then look no further than the 76 Vintage Dyna Comp. Here it is bypassed. Now with the 76 Vintage Dyna Comp. Let's start with the country pickin' setting. Notice how the signal is tightened up. The quiet notes are louder, the peaks have been leveled off to produce a punchy, sustained tone. Now let's hear the opposite end of the effect and really crank up the compression for the heavy squish setting. Here, the signal peaks and valleys have really been compressed to produce an even and consistent tone. Now let's try the 76 Vintage Dyna Comp with slide guitar. All of this compression is great for even sustain and increased control while playing electric slide. Well, there you have it. The 76 Vintage Dyna Comp from MXR gives you dynamic compression and massive sustain to your signal with all the vintage specs and components of the original 1976 Dyna Comp.